Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday after Easter and April Fool's Day. And it's apropos that it is April 1st because we're here today to discuss an issue that has been blatant in the news here, not only in Connecticut, but across our country in terms of what happened here in Connecticut, particularly Bridgeport. And it's clear that on April Fool's Day, not to let the Democratic Party, the majority in Hartford, fool you, or fool the voters in the Connecticut into thinking that they really want to do anything to address voter confidence, voter integrity in our elections. We had somebody just this past September blatantly caught on video violating the election laws. And this is not just me saying this. This is not just my colleagues saying this. This is a nonpartisan judge in the Superior Court in Connecticut taking unprecedented action to order a brand new election, multiple new elections for that matter, canceling a primary vote based upon the fact that someone openly on camera was breaking the voter laws and cracking into the integrity here in our election system. And even prior to that, but more importantly, subsequent to that, we've had members in the House and Senate Republicans offer multiple amendments, multiple proposals that actually would address voter integrity here in our state. And the only thing that we've gotten an answer from on is, we'll put a camera in front of these drop boxes, don't ask any more questions, and walk away. And what's even scarier about all this is that the individual that's been at the center of this, who was caught again blatantly on camera, violating our election laws, was promoted to vice chair of the Bridgeport Democratic City Committee. And so this individual is getting promoted based after what has occurred. We've heard nothing regarding this investigation, and I would compare it to someone walking into a store taking money out of a cash register. If you're telling me that a day after that's submitted to the authorities that something isn't done, I'd be shocked. Now we have months and months and months later, nothing has been done. No report on the investigation, and we're standing here today, and all of our proposals have been shot down, one in special session, and also again in the GAE committee, thanks to the work of Senator Sampson and Representative Mastrofrancesco addressing these issues. So I'm proud to introduce both of them here today, and I look forward to them unveiling our proposals, which we believe will actually address voter integrity in our state. Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Senator Harding. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you first off for being here. In fact, it's the most important thing to me that you are here, because what we're trying to do today more than anything else is to keep this issue alive. The quality of our election integrity in this state has been suspect for the last several years, in my opinion. And I've been trying to raise awareness to that year after year, offering amendments on the floor, challenging the majority's continued policy changes that tend to expand access to voting, which we agree is a good thing. But when they expand access to voting, they don't always put the proper security measures with those expansions. And that's what we would like to draw attention and focus to. So the thing is that I've been upset about this issue for a number of years, and we've not really been able to get the proper attention on it. And then lo and behold, what happened last September in Bridgeport actually brought this issue to the forefront, and people across the state became aware of it. And the press started to cover this issue in, real sincerity. And that's been great. The problem is that despite all of this attention to this issue, the Democrats that we serve with here in Hartford have failed to take the issue seriously enough and put the proper protocols and policies in place to fix it. Instead, they'd prefer to gaslight the public. They'd prefer to gaslight the press into suggesting that somehow this bill that they've offered in the GA committee that we just passed out of committee the other day is going to solve the problem. And I don't want to come across as if we're not supportive of that legislation. I think it does some good things, but it just does not go far enough. The issue with the drop boxes is that the drop boxes are just one of several mechanisms by which voters can return an absentee ballot. And if you begin monitoring drop boxes, and I'll make a note that in Bridgeport, they were monitoring the drop box, and what happened there happened. And they had 3 subsequent elections, and it appears that in all of the subsequent elections where obviously there was much more scrutiny on the drop boxes, there were cameras pointed at the drop boxes, it didn't seem to change a thing. So I don't know why anyone would believe that somehow pointing a camera at drop boxes now is going to solve the problem. And the fact of the matter is, bad actors who are going to abuse our absentee ballot system can go around the drop boxes very easily. You could just put those ballot or ballot applications right into an actual mailbox instead of a drop box. So there are problems that need to be addressed outside of just attacking the drop box issue, and that's what we're here to say. And we would like to attack the problem in the most significant and proper way possible, and that is to address the way our absentee ballot process works in the state of Connecticut. And I feel like it's a flawed system. They expanded our mail-in voting from being just a couple of percentage points in an election, 2 or 3% of votes cast prior to the pandemic, to now, during the pandemic, you saw numbers 20, 30, even 40% in some races, votes being cast by absentees. And of course, the number, while it's not that high, it's still significant. And that was never the intention. Our absentee ballot system is there to accommodate people who cannot vote in person. It is not to create a mail-in voting system with holes in it. And that's what we have today. So we've got a series of proposals designed to fix our absentee ballot system so that the type of fraud, the type of irregularities that we've seen cannot continue, and we can restore the quality of our elections in Connecticut. The first thing we should do is we should address our voter rolls. This is where the source of the problem. When you have corrupt voter rolls and then you mail out ballots, obviously you're going to be mailing ballots and ballot applications to people that do not deserve them. So that's the first thing. And we have a number of ways to do that, including auditing absentee ballot applications, auditing election day registration. Just as an example, someone can election day register and vote in Connecticut, and then immediately after that, within a few weeks, the registrar is going to send that person a confirmation letter saying you've been registered to vote. But would you know that some of those are returned in the mail and nothing is done about that? So that should make one wonder whether or not those were legitimate voters to begin with. And that's just one of the areas that we should address as far as fixing the voter rolls, including putting an actual requirement on the Secretary of State to address the voter rolls on an annual basis. The second thing we need to do is put some type of security in our absentee ballot system. Other states that do significant amounts of mail-in voting, they actually set up their system in advance, knowing they're going to do mail-in voting so that they have a better registration system where they capture somebody's signature digitally, knowing that they're going to compare it later using an automated system. Here in Connecticut, we don't have any of that. We have a very, very, loosey-goosey kind of system, and it just does not work. We don't have a signature verification process. We don't have photo ID for in-person voting, for one thing, but we don't have that for absentee ballot voting either, and many other states do. We should have that here in Connecticut. The third thing, and what I think is the most important thing we could do, is to just prohibit the unsolicited mailing of absentee ballot applications. This is the problem, is now you've got either a government entity, the Secretary of State, or municipalities sending out absentee ballot applications to all of the voters, or what's happened in more recent years is you have candidates or people that are involved in campaigns sending out the absentee ballot applications to the people that they have targeted, effectively sending maybe multiple applications to some people and none to others. It's a completely unfair system, and it is an imperfect system because what's happening is people are receiving ballot applications to their home addresses that they do not belong to them. And the fact of the matter is that this is being exploited in places like Bridgeport, where they are using the holes in our system in a big way to cheat and to advance their different campaigns and candidacies. But it's also happening in other places too. And we can never actually know the scale. The fact of the matter is if folks are sent absentee ballot applications for their elderly parents, some people are going to fill them out for them. They just are. That's a fact of the matter. Or, if their kids away at college, people are going to fill these things out. And that's just not the way our system is supposed to work. There are elections decided by as little as one vote in this state. I overlap with the 81st representative district, decided by one vote last year. So that's something that we need to address. And then finally, the other piece of this is to actually put in real penalties for bad actors. We've had numerous cases of election fraud almost exclusively with absentee ballots and almost exclusively in our major cities over the last 3 decades. And some people have gotten fined, no question about it. But to my knowledge, no one has ever served a day in prison or had a very significant fine. We need a real deterrent. And that's why we're offering a policy, which thankfully narrowly made it out of the GAE committee the other day, Senate Bill 390, which would put a 1-year mandatory minimum on election interference and similar types of crimes. So those things together, I think, are more likely to address the problem than simply putting a camera on a drop box, which may be a valid idea, but it's not enough to fix things. And I want to turn it over to Representative Mastrofrancesco and see if she has anything to add.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Senator Sampson and Senator Harding said. On the GA committee, I'm the ranking member and I represent the House Republicans. We have been arguing about this issue for years, and we constantly hear that there is no voter fraud going on in Connecticut. Well, obviously, as we've seen in Bridgeport, it does happen in Bridgeport and possibly happening in many other towns as well. The problem here, this bill that we passed out of committee, is, as we say, there's some decent things in here, but it really is not going to address the problem and deter people from interfering in our elections and manipulating our absentee ballots. Everything in here really is to address the issue after the fact. So putting a camera on a drop box, if you think about it, that ballot is already put in the box, right? The vote has already been cast. The election has been decided. All of this stuff put in place is for after the facts. We have an opportunity here to actually put legislation together to prevent that beginning manipulating the ballots from happening, and that's what really needs to happen. The unsolicitation of absentee ballot applications clearly is a problem. We've always felt, and I always feel, that if you would like to vote by absentee ballot, you should be the sole person asking for that application. That one policy alone will definitely deter and make a big difference in our elections. Voter ID. Why don't we have voter ID in this state? Most states have voter ID. Do you know that you can actually go out and vote today without nothing? I can just walk in just like this and actually cast my ballot without presenting any ID. All you would have to do is say, I don't have an electric bill with me, I don't have a photo ID, I have nothing, and you will sign an affidavit signing off on who you really are. And that's how easy it is to vote here in Connecticut. The mandatory sentence is really key. Now, that will certainly deter people from attempting to manipulate our elections with absentee ballots. There has to be some consequences, and they have to be afraid and know what they're doing, that if they do that, they are certainly going to get caught, and they can go to jail 1 year. And our voter rolls, as Senator Sampson mentioned, our voter rolls clearly are a mess, and they have been a mess for a long time. If you look at the last election, we had how many of those absentee ballot applications came back? We're in the thousands, and they clearly need to be cleaned up. So I hope that our party, our Democrats, right now have an opportunity before we go into session and start voting on legislation to make some significant changes to this bill, because these are the things that are obviously absolutely going to deter bad actors from messing with our elections. Thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it back over to Senator Harding. Thank you.
So I want to thank Senator Sampson and Representative Mastrofrancesco for rolling out our plan. Again, these are actual policies, in our opinion, that will actually help restore integrity in our elections, gain voter confidence from voters across our state, and actually do something about what happened in Bridgeport and actually move forward in a positive direction as it relates to voter integrity, not just saying we'll put a camera in front of a drop box and move on.